All right. Hello. Welcome back to the MacKillop podcast, where today I'm joined by two very special guests in the studio. Genesis Owusu, or as we knew you here at MacKillop as Kofi. You were part of the graduating class of 2015, in which you were actually the finalist for that Triple J Unearthed High competition of that year. Since then, you've gone on to win Triple J Album of the Year, 4 ARIAs, ACT Young Person of the Year. Look, hello, congratulations, and welcome back to MacKillop College.
Hello.
How are you today?
Doing swell.
Thank you for coming on. And Mr. Michael Lee, thank you for coming on the MacKillop podcast once again. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing swell.
Great. We're just off the back of our St. Peter's campus assembly, which both of you spoke, did a little interview with Kofi. Then we took you on a tour around the campus, Kofi.
Yeah.
How was it? What did you think of the school compared to when you were here?
You guys leveled up. I'm a bit jealous, to be honest.
Yeah.
Everything felt high tech, spacious, modern.
Yeah.
You guys have done well.
Thank you. With more to come, the new Performing Arts Centre coming soon. You were a music student here in your senior years, music industry, in the music rooms. Tell us a bit about your experience doing music here at MacKillop.
It was pretty laid back, which is like I appreciated. I feel like if you really want to get creativity out of a lot of people, it would make it harder to be super duper structured. And they gave us space to explore, and I had a little band that I made here in music class. So they they taught us some things we needed to know, and then kind of let us roam free to make our own connections and gel with the people that we wanted to gel with. It was a good experience.
Great. Mr. Lee, do you remember Kofi's final performance at the Year 12 Assembly?
Yes, I do. I remember almost every performance of Kofi. I remember him getting awards. I remember talking to the school captain, who was a Lebanese boy, and I said, this Kofi kid sitting over there, so much style. And Kofi stood up to get his award, and Adam said, oh yeah, just the way he stands up. So, I have very, very fond memories of that year group and of Kofi and Abby.
Great. And Kofi, that was a big performance for you at the time, performing in front of the whole school, playing King Kunta, I believe it was.
Yeah, we did. What's that? Making my way downtown into King Kunta.
Great.
That was fun. I remember there was some technical difficulties at the start, and it took a while to get the amps or something working. So we're kind of just chilling for a bit, but
But people were respectful and waited. Those awkward pauses, they're not awkward for the audience.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. I felt bad. I felt like I was extending everybody's time before they got to go to recess. But the suspense added to the performance. I think.
Yeah, it was well worth the wait, in my humble opinion. Hope you don't have any technical difficulties on tour, which is a perfect segue into my next question. You are heading off to the festival round, also touring overseas in America with Paramore. Tell us a bit about that.
So later this month, I'm doing the Groove in the Moo festival run, which is 6 or 7 shows around Australia, which will be fun. Groove in the Moo was my first ever festival, so I have I hold a lot of sentiment for that particular festival, so that'll be fun. And then next month I'm doing the support slot for Paramore, who are obviously huge, and we're doing 2 Madison Square Gardens together, which is gonna be incredible. I thought I'd have to wait a lot longer before I got to play there. But yeah, next month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Exciting stuff.
Super exciting. And apparently they're super lovely people, so I'm keen to meet them.
Awesome. Well, we wish you all the best for that. Mr. Lee, are you going to be heading to any festivals in the festival season?
I won't be going to any concerts in the US in May, but I have been to Madison Square Garden, and it's one of those really historic venues, like the Hall of Mirrors at Versailles. You think of the great fights, Jack Dempsey, great political rallies. The Beatles first performed in the US at the Garden. It's a wonderful place. You can just feel the history and the versatility of the space. So good luck. I'm envious. It'll be wonderful.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Thank you.
Great. Kofi, can you talk to us a little bit about your creative process? You've said before that you sort of, this is your art and how you express yourself.
There isn't really like a set structure that I follow. At the best of times, it's the things that come to me, like ideas or emotions or expressions will naturally just rise up, and I'll feel the need to make it into a reality. And then on the flip side, because now this is a career, and I need to have a consistent supply of music that I'm constantly making and releasing. There's a lot of traveling to different cities, different countries to meet with new producers and see what kinds of magic we can make together, what the chemistry of the relationship is, because that determines what music comes out of it. My favorite way of making music was how I made my first album. I got together with a band that me and my manager created. I never met them before. And we got together in this like bedroom-sized studio. It was 6 of us. It was in like the middle of summer. It was stupid hot. And we just jammed for 6 days, like 10 hours a day, drenched in sweat. Everyone's guard was down because you couldn't have an ego. You couldn't have like pride. You're just dying and just playing whatever you can, singing whatever you can. And so we did that for 6 days, like 10 hours a day. And that was how I made my whole first album. Like we recorded all those jam sessions, and then I went back and listened to those 60 hours, and I marked out the timestamps of the little jams that I liked, and then we took those and created songs out of them, and that's how that whole album was created.
Wow. I got 2 questions off the back of that. What do you do with the songs that didn't make the cut?
I'm creating a vault,
Oh.
Prince had a crazy vault, so I kind of see that as like, what's going to happen to me. But a lot of the time when songs don't make albums, they usually come out eventually, because a lot of the time it's not because the song isn't good, it's just because it doesn't like necessarily fit the context of that particular package.
Sure.
So maybe it'll fit the context of the next package or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just have a vault. I have a big vault of unreleased songs right now that I kind of just keep to myself. I listen to every once in a while.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And do you feel, off the back of your debut album, do you feel more pressure now in the creative process? You mentioned a bit earlier today that the industry, can revolve around, finances and stuff like that. Do you feel more pressure now in your creative space, or do you feel like you're as free as ever to go into your next album?
No, so much pressure, but like from a lot of different angles. When I was making my first album, for instance, no one was waiting for me to make my first album. I was kind of just there, and I had fans, but I wasn't in the public eye to that extent. So when that first album went really well, to this day, I'm still working through the effects of that album going well. I'm still touring a lot because that album was so well received. So now I have to figure out time to create the next album in between all this touring and stuff like that. And also that first album was made during COVID times. So there was like, I couldn't do shows.
Sure.
But I think with all that being said, it's kind of just the reality of the situation, and it's a roller coaster in itself that you kind of have to learn how to enjoy, or which parts that are exciting that you can enjoy. Yeah. It's been an experience that I don't have the answers to, because I'm kind of living through it
Sure.
in real time.
Yeah.
So, Kofi, as a schoolboy, you were incredibly popular with the students. Incredibly is the wrong word. You were quite obviously really popular and respected by the students because you were so present to everyone, and your engagement with the Black Lives Matter issue, Malcolm X, that kind of thing, very respectful and comfortable with difference. Do you think that space that you've been in has unleashed the creative spirit and helped you? Do you think that's been a plus for you in terms of how you go about your career and your work?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like I make my music as unapologetic as I can because that's how I strove to be as a person. I feel like at the start of those like political movements, a lot of the time they weren't well received by a lot of people, but that couldn't be like a halt to the process just because everyone wasn't pleased with it. You know, I believe in it. I believed in it at the time, so I tried to be as unapologetic as possible, and the music is just an extension of that. It's just a way to get things like that out to a greater audience. So yeah, I think that that really enriched the music.
Let's talk a bit about your stage presence. I've had the privilege of seeing you live, and it is phenomenal.
Thank you.
Coming from, this year 12 assembly where you performed on stage, which I think was the last time I saw you perform live, until seeing you live at, at a festival, you've evolved and created this persona, which is just phenomenal to see. How'd you do it, and why?
It was kind of unintentional.
Yeah, okay.
It was, I think the way that I move on stage isn't calculated. It just kind of comes out. It's kind of like a Clark Kent Superman situation.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, as soon as I step on stage, I just feel different. I move different. I speak differently. And I think stage has also given me an outlet to bring other passions back into the fold, like designing clothes and stuff like that. It gives me a reason to make new outfits, make stage outfits. And I was always into, like, English was my favorite class. I was always into world building and like fantasy and things like that. So being able to take songs and weave a narrative through them, and almost create like a theatrical play type of experience when it comes to live performance. I think that's why live performance is probably my favorite thing out of the whole musical experience.
Great. And recently performed at the Sydney Opera House.
Yes.
Sold out with an orchestra.
With the 40-piece, the Sydney Symphony Orchestra. Yeah.
It's a fun combo. I'm trying to picture the orchestra there with, all their sheet music, and then you're just like out the front just vibing. Like, how did you guys work together? Was it an interesting creative process?
Yeah, it was really fun. So we worked with a string arranger named Alex Turley. Really, really talented guy. And we kind of just had conversations back and forth. He would ask me like how I felt this music should be translated, and he would go on like Ableton and create like demos of what it would sound like with like just string synths and stuff like that. And then we'd go back and forth, and when we had finalized it, he just wrote the charts. And these, orchestral musicians are like world-class legacy musicians. Like, if you put a piece of paper in front of them, that is what they'll play. They won't change. Like me, I made the album from jamming. I like to move around. They don't play like that. Like, you put the piece of paper in front of them, that is what they'll play. You don't mess it up. You don't go, so that was a little bit intimidating.
They do exactly what the conductor tells them to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, and they're phenomenal musicians. Like, we had one day of rehearsal before that show, and we just played each song once, and they, yep, cool. Wow. The conductor would be like, bar 67, delete the arpeggio and blah, blah, blah. And they'll be like, got it. then we'll move on to the next song.
Incredible.
But yeah, that was a crazy experience. We recorded and filmed the whole thing. They'll be coming out in a few days. So yeah, look out for that.
Great. Kofi, you spoke this morning at the St. Peter's Campus Assembly. You talked about being true and authentic in the industry that you're in. I wanted to share a little clip from that now here on the podcast, because I was pretty in awe of the stuff you talked about, and I'm sure many people in the audience were too. So here's Genesis Owusu speaking at the St. Peter's Campus Assembly this morning. Let's have a quick listen.
Kofi, everything about your life shouts and screams creativity. You're a journalist. They're very creative. You design your own clothes. You create music. How did you recognise this creative talent in yourself, and how did you harness it and give it impetus?
I think at the start, it wasn't so much I was recognising it as a talent. It was more so just how I learnt to express myself. Like, I don't think I was particularly good at any of that at the start. It just, when I made something and put lyrics together for a song, I felt like it expressed myself, expressed what I wanted to say better than I could just speaking to someone one-on-one. So I think all of that creativity is just a means of me speaking my mind. And I just put it to practice by doing it, no matter how bad it was or how good it was, no matter what people thought of it. It just became an extension of myself, so I just felt the need to put it out into the world.
Do you think it's hard for artists with a profile to be authentic, or do you think that when perhaps they're not authentic, their fans can see through that and become disappointed? Talk to us a bit about being real.
I think both sides exist. I think people can sense authenticity. They can sense when something's real and when something's manufactured. But I do think having a profile, it's a lot easier to be manufactured. There are consequences sometimes with authenticity. In this like social media age of like parasocial relationships where there are lots of eyes on you, and because people have such a connection with your music, they feel like they know you to a sense, when in reality that's not quite the truth. So when you do something that is actually authentic to you, but maybe in their eyes they wouldn't perceive that can have a disconnect and can disappoint or confuse a lot of people. But I think the best way to handle that is to just do things for yourself and for your own well-being, and carve your own path through life, not so much dependent on the validation of others.
Mr. Lee, you were principal when Kofi was the Year 9 campus captain.
Yes.
Can you speak to us a bit about the difference between Kofi then and the Kofi you see sitting in front of you right now?
Well, the appearance, of course, is very different. He was so clean cut, and the junior campus uniform really makes the schoolboy of you, the white shirt and the tie, and it's very preppy. But the Kofi that's talking to us now is exactly the Kofi, with more wisdom and more insight and more lived experience. But Kofi's popularity and the respect that he had from myself and from other people was that he was his own person. He was very comfortable being himself, and he was very open to other people. There was no arrogance, there was no triumphalism. He was just a really good, decent person that was present to a lot of people without being needy himself. And that's what I'm looking at here. I'm looking at creative energy. I'm looking at a person that's talking about themselves in a very challenging industry, and I'm really, really proud for him and delighted for him.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So, Kofi, 7 years since you were here, What stays with you about your time at MacKillop, do you think?
There are specific moments, like performing at the Year 12 Assembly, and the Year 12 Assembly as a whole, like just a very fun and beautiful and wholesome experience. The athletics carnivals and stuff like that. But I think just as a whole, just the environment in general for those years of my life, just being in a space where it didn't feel unsafe or challenging to be myself. And especially in those years of a person's life, like I feel like that's very important, because that's when you are still finding out who you are, and having the space to figure that out in a community who encourages that is extremely important. So I hold a lot of love for this school for providing a space that allowed me to figure that out. That's mostly the fond sentiment that I keep with me.
I'd like to be a principal that runs a school that says, don't do it that way, think about doing it this way, rather than you will not. I don't want to run a school where people have to point the finger at other people and say no, because I don't think that is in anybody's interests. I think it is relational, and that's how it's always been in the classroom. So since we met, we've had COVID, and we've had cancel culture, and we've had World Pride Month. All this sort of thing has been going on, and what we're noticing here is a rise in adolescent anxiety and neediness, and I mean that in a respectful way. What advice have you got to adolescents these days? What could you say to them that might help them and guide them?
Well, I feel like that those global issues are something that affects like the population as a whole. I feel like you as students and the youth, you're not alone in that, and I think that alone you should take some solace in, that the people around you are feeling the same things that you're feeling. I feel those things. I feel like it's such an unprecedented time where you can pull out a little machine in your pocket every day and see everything that's wrong with the world, like as you wake up. Like that's a pretty dystopian thing that we're living in, and of course there's lots of beautiful things about that as well. But the world is a chaotic and absurd place, but there's a lot of strength and power that you as a person hold to be able to get up every day and live and enjoy and laugh and love despite all of that. So I think there's a lot of inherent power and ability that you hold that you might not consciously recognize, and giving yourself space and time to consciously recognize that, I think it will do a lot for you. It'll do a lot for you to appreciate your own sense of self and figure yourself out in these chaotic times, and just keep on keeping on. Just keep on living.
Kofi, I think the wisdom and the generosity of how you share your life is an inspiration to everyone, and we're very proud that you went to this school, and all of us were better for you being here.
I appreciate that. Thanks for having me, and you're an amazing principal. Every person that I speak to that has come to MacKillop as a student, as staff, or just as a visitor, I've never heard a bad word about you. Your passion holds true to everyone that I've met that's come through here, and myself.
You're very kind to say that. Thank you. I can point to you in the direction of a couple of people. Really nice to have you back. You've been very generous. This has been very valuable for all of us.
It's my pleasure.
So Kofi, you're in Canberra at the moment. You're off the tour for a little bit. First of all, how long are you in Canberra for, and what are you going to get up to?
I'm here for maybe like 2.5 weeks, and I'm getting up to absolutely nothing.
Yeah, great.
Because I've been getting up to way too much.
Yeah.
This is my first full week in Canberra and back home all year. Yeah, it's been a journey. And looking at my calendar, I think this is April and August are like the only months of the year where this will ever happen. So I'm doing nothing while I'm
That's
here.
completely fair. And I guess that's a good segue into my next question. As someone who makes their living off being creative, what do you do to switch off?
I play Nintendo Switch. Very keen for the new Zelda.
Ooh.
It's coming out next month. I play games. I watch shows. I kind of just want to like learn a bunch of things right now, and just that have nothing to do with music.
Okay.
I got Duolingo last week. Learning French.
Love Duolingo.
Yeah.
You got a streak going?
Yeah, I got a streak, man. I haven't broken it.
How many days? How many you got?
Just 7. I started last week.
Oh, cool. That's great.
Yeah. I right now I'm just like getting my proper amount of rest, and then just like I want to just do random things, like learn how to speak French, like maybe go kayaking or something like that. Just like things I would never usually do.
Great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So this might be a bit hush hush, I don't know, but can you talk to us a little bit about your next album?
Yeah, so I just got back from LA like a few days ago, finishing the final vocals for the next album.
Okay.
So I just got to tweak a few things here and there, and then we'll get sent into mixing and mastering.
Yeah.
And then maybe sometime this year, not too far away.
Okay.
I think it was Ollie asked at Assembly. Is that his name, Ollie? He asked at Assembly if I could play a song. And I was very tempted to play, a little demo of the the next single.
Oh. Damn.
But I think it has some bad words in it, so I probably shouldn't have anyway.
That's completely fair. Well, that's exciting. So it's in the works. We can expect something soonish. It's a bit up in the air. Cool.
Yeah, you can expect something soon.
Great. That's all I need. I'm happy to hear that. I will be patiently waiting for that because I love the debut album. Song About Fishing is my favorite.
Oh, man, you got to hear that with the orchestra.
Well,
you'll hear it when it comes out.
I had to be here and I was working, so I'll have to look at the video. But it looked awesome, and I'm keen to hear that when that comes out as well. The live show. So Kofi, look, some of us know you pretty well from your time here at MacKillop, but the students who are here now obviously haven't seen you around school before. They only know you in the musician professional sense. So I thought we'd play a little game to get inside the mind of Genesis, in a game I like to call the Genesis of Genesis.
Classic.
It's a game where we ask MacKillop and non-MacKillop questions. It's quick, rapid fire, first thing that comes to your head, and we'll see how many we can get through in the short time we have left.
All right.
Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. Question 1. What song would you like to cover that's not Anarchy in the UK?
Prototype by Outkast.
Who would you be honoured to have covered you?
Anyone, honestly.
Cool.
Every time I see like someone on Instagram or blah 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 like doing a cover of my song, I think it's so cool. Great.
What is your favourite MacKillop canteen item?
Sausage roll.
Oh, controversial, not a brekkie wrap. There'll be a few
with barbecue sauce.
Oh,
yeah.
Even more controversial. What is your favourite city to play a show at?
Paris, but Brisbane is also really sick.
Cool. What is your favourite Canberra food spot?
Taki in Dixon. Or Raku if I'm feeling pricey.
Okay. What is your travel essential?
Nintendo Switch.
Amen. Guilty pleasure?
I've been watching some pretty awful reality TV shows.
Interesting. Yes, you're preaching to the choir here. This could be controversial. Favourite teacher from your time at MacKillop?
Off the top of my head, probably Miss Ghazi.
Do you still get nervous before performing on stage?
Not really. I get sleepy. I get really sleepy, but I think that's like how my body like translates nervousness. But yeah, not in a conventional sense. I get really sleepy before I step on stage. But then as soon as I get on stage, it's all good.
Cool. Not the answer I was expecting, but interesting. Where are we? Oh, if Genesis Owusu was a font, what font would they be?
Probably just like Times New Roman.
Really?
Bold caps,
Okay.
bold, simple, straight to the point, but like timeless.
Great. Which of your songs best sums you up?
I can't really say. I think just the Smiling with No Teeth album as a whole, as a collection, I feel like that's the best summary of me.
Are you a movie or TV show person?
I'm trying to be more of a movie person right now. I've got a big list on my phone to movies I have to watch.
Cool. Last question. Who wrote this? Who's the best magician you know? I don't know how that slipped in there. Anyway, you don't have to answer. We all know the answer.
Damn.
I know you know so many.
Well, maybe I need to see a trick to refresh my memory. But of course, it's Harry Hattch.
Yeah, I don't do tricks at work. I'm on the clock. I'm sorry. You play a song, I'll do a trick. How about that? Great. Thank you for giving us some insight into the mind of Genesis Owusu.
My pleasure.
We really appreciate you coming on here on the podcast. Look, it's always a pleasure to talk to you and have you back here at the school. We wish you all the best on your tour around Australia and overseas. Genesis Owusu, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.